Hi everybody, Gary here with my old buddy Jordan Lear. My gosh, we're out here at the upper end of the Lake of the Ozarks, and right over there is the Truman Dam. Now there's been a lot of good catfishing taking place out here at the upper end of Lake of the Ozarks, and they've been catching quite a few crappie at times as well. Jordan, I tell you what, a great way to start today. These blue cats are real special, aren't they? They're fighters and probably some of the better eating ones.
Real good eating, put up a good fight. Lots of fun.
Lots of fun. So we're going to be visiting with Jordan, his techniques out here using these, catching these blue cats. And we have some good reports coming with you today. Here we are in the first week of July. A little hot, not real bad, but it's a little muggy. But we have some reports coming from all of our lakes. So let's go fishing.
Fish and Chums!
Hey, here we're back in here at the old fishing shack, having a cup of coffee. Catfish, what'd you put in this coffee? I know it's 4th of July. Hey, happy 4th of July week, everybody. Let me put this down. Woo. Hey, we had such a great time. We opened the show out Lake the Ozarks. Boy, we had a lot of fun out there with Jordan Lear fishing the upper end of the Lake of the Ozark right below Truman Dam earlier in the week, and we had a ball. We had a ball, caught some really nice fish. And in fact, we want to start off the photo of the week with my buddy, my best buddy, Brandon. Hey, look at Brandon and Jordan. Brandon caught his big catfish of all time. That was a blue cat, went over 11 pounds. We'll say maybe 12, but anyway, it was a nice fish. So, boy, we had a good time there. You know, they're catching a lot of blue cats, and we'll be talking about the Lake of the Ozarks fishing report a little bit later on. So be sure to tune in. I want to show you that photo of the week, though, Brandon. Good going, my friend. All right, one other photo from, you know, I did notice that there are a lot of boats out there at the upper end below the dam at Truman, at the upper end of Lake of the Ozarks. A lot of crappie fishing. They're catching a lot of crappie. There are a lot of small fish, but they were wading through the crappie and the small fish, picking up some, keeping some nice crappie. And on the rocks, I noticed some people fishing, and boy, they were catching some really nice hybrids, and once in a while a big old walleye as well. Rock rats, we call them there. Oh, I love that group too, the rock rats, Truman rock rats. But look at this. Jen Ryan was out the same day we were fishing, and look at this beautiful hybrid that he caught. Look at that fish. Isn't that beautiful? Beautiful photo. That's really a great photo. So good fishing. If you want to get out to Lake of the Ozarks, below the dam at Truman, expect a lot of people the next few days, but they're catching a lot of really nice blue cats. My gosh, Jordan Lear, what a great guy. He's a great fan of the show. Yeah, he's always been there with us, and great kid. Boy, I really enjoyed fishing with him. He's got a great setup. You know, we were anchoring fishing for those blue cats with cut shad, and I think Brandon caught that particular fish there on a cut blue or a perch, I believe. But anchoring's really been going good. Then other people I noticed were drifting, doing a lot of drift fishing, catching blue cats there as well. And so, boy, good fishing at the upper end of Lake of the Ozarks, that's for sure. And thanks once again to Jordan Lear. Wow, what a great day. What a great day. All right, let's go on to Beaver right quick. Beaver Lake looks like it's going to be good for the 4th of July weekend. And by the way, I hope you guys had a great 4th of July. Boy, it was it's warm, muggy, but not that bad. All right, let's go to Beaver Lake. You know, Huck Finn Guide Service. Boy, this guy does a great job out at Beaver Lake. He had this group out just earlier in the week, and look at the crappie he caught guiding this group. It's a family, and man, they had a lot of fun. And beautiful crappie, and they were using arky jigs with minnows and pitching up some jig and minnows up around those docks, and boy, they caught some really nice fish. So Beaver Lake looks good. The water temperature's around 83 degrees. And I tell you what, they're picking up some bass in the morning hours out at Beaver as well. Still popping those firecrackers. on poppers and also some swim baits. I've been picking up some fish on the top. So topwater fishing could be good at Beaver the next few days. Don't overlook it. Get up early, fish late. Hey, you might pick yourself some nice fish up. Some spooks picking up fish there as well. And they've been picking up some big bluegill out at Beaver Lake as well. They've been picking up some stripers and also a few crappie, like we've seen some real nice crappie out there. So Beaver Lake looks pretty good for the upcoming weekend. All right, one other thing out at Beaver, look at C.A. Douglas was out earlier in the week, picked up these, look at this on his set line, his trout line. Look at these fish that those boys caught. My gosh, some beautiful, beautiful cats. And so the catfishing has really been good out at Beaver. Looks like a good place to be for the upcoming weekend. All right, quick report out at Table Rock. That water temperature this morning was 83 degrees on the surface, and they've been having some pretty good fishing at Table Rock. Top water fishing's been good. The poppers have been good. They've been using some sexy shad. They've been using some spooks. Just, I think any good topwater bait should work for you out there this upcoming weekend in early morning hours, and again in late evening hours. But I tell you what, always keep an extra, even during the day when you're out drop shotting or doing some Ned rigging. Always have a rod just at your fingertips loaded up with a topwater bait, because you never know when a little pop-up could come up and you might pick yourself up a quick bass or two. And when it warms up a little bit, they're going out in about 18, 25, 35 feet of water with your drop shots, and also some Ned rig fishing going on out there. And now on these points and secondary points at Table Rock, they've been doing a lot of dragging. They've been dragging some shaky heads and also some football-style jigs with some good plastics on it, picking up several bass this way. And as I've talked about it the last 2 or 3 weeks here on the program, go up like the James River, any good river arm at Table Rock, and flip some good old, big old plastic worms. They're catching some pretty nice fish at the rock. And Texas style, you don't need a heavy weight on it because that 10-inch worm's plenty heavy enough. Pitch it out there and then swim it. When you pitch it up to the bank, then swim it out to a log or a brush pile, and then drop it. Oh, gosh, that's fun. So you might want to try some 10-inch plastic worms up in the river areas at Table Rock. And they've been flipping some docks as well with jigs. You know how to fish Table Rock. Should be good this weekend. Some nice bass are being caught. Walleye fishing? Gosh, I don't know. I haven't had any good reports. So this high water, by the way, the lake is about 4 feet above normal pool. It's high, but it's kind of scattered the walleye as far as I'm concerned, because I've hit all my good spots earlier in the week and didn't pick up anything. And I talked to 2 or 3 other boys that had it slow, so they just may be shuffling around. There has been a few walleye caught, but no big run right now. A few crappie around some of the bluffs up around the upper end of the lakes. Seems like the bluffs, if you can find any brush piles, get down there in about 15, 18 feet of water on jig and minnows. Could catch yourself some crappie at the rock. And speaking of Table Rock, my gosh, let's go over and look at Drake. Look at this young man. He caught this beautiful bass. He's been going out with Wes and Jody, and they've been catching fish, but this young man has been catching the big fish. And good going, Drake. That's a heck of a nice bass out at Table Rock. Okay, Taneycomo. I want to tell you, it has just been a little weird because that lake is real low in a lot of spots. So you really have to watch out what you're doing. They're running some generators, mainly in the afternoon hours. But I tell you what, they're doing some work. I understand at the Power Site Dam. So they're a little low water conditions. So really be careful out at Taneycomo for the upcoming weekend. Other than that, I've been using a jig and a float, putting up a float up above a jig, a little small, like a 64th ounce brown or olive green, a black. They've been putting that jig up above that float, pitching that float out there. Maybe that float may be 4 feet up above that jig, and working it real slow because that water's real clear and these fish are a little spooky. So you might catch yourself some trout. I think you will, but watch where you're going out there, that's for sure. Out at Bull Shoals, the fishing has been pretty good early morning. Poppers have been working good. Love these poppers. I like that popper. Been picking up some fish on spooks. If there's a little bit of wind, I understand, so whopper ploppers have been working pretty good. So topwater fishing's good. The lake looks good. There's real clear water out there in the main lake area and down by the dam, of course. Now, the only places you're going to find some real off-colored water would be back in the creek areas. And they have been using some Texas-style plastic worms back in the creek areas and fishing these brush piles. That's been pretty good. And out on the points and secondary points, some shaky heads and dragging some jigs have been fairly productive. And they've been using some swim baits out there as well. And at times, a little wind up on some of these points and secondary points, square-billed crankbaits occasionally have been picking up some fish. So Bull Shoals looks pretty good. The walleye, I've had some pretty good reports the last couple of days. Some nice walleye have been caught out at Bull Shoals on the points and secondary points. Some people have been catching them while they're bass fishing. Other people have been trolling deep diving baits, like your flicker minnows or flicker shads. And some people have been working some jig and night crawlers out there as well on some of these points, anywhere 15, 25, 30 feet of water. So you may want to check this out. I don't think they're catching a huge number of walleye, but they're catching some really nice fish. So check this out. Okay, let's go out to Stockton. By gosh, there have been some nice fish caught out there. No big run. That lake is high. That water temperature is 84 degrees this morning. Pete Fisher was out a couple days ago, or recently, I should say, and he picked up these two nice walleye. One went 24 inches on I think an 1/8 ounce jig head, and just a half a night crawler, or just using some jigs off these points, anywhere from 20, 25, 30 feet of water. So check out Stockton for the upcoming weekend. You might catch yourself a walleye or two. How about that? Been picking up a few crappie, but they've been trolling for them with some small crankbaits. I don't think anything huge. I did talk to a guy the other day that picked up a half a dozen around one of the bridge pilings. Check this out. And they have had some good catfishing out at Stockton. Really turned on the last few days. They've been using worms and cut shad, and I think those catfish are really getting going good out there. So check out some catfishing at Stockton. And by the way, there's been some really big bluegill caught at Stockton in about 20, 25, even 30 feet of water on night crawlers. Hey, they can be a lot of fun. All right, Pomme de Terre. That lake was 84 degrees out there this morning. They've been picking up some cats, and the catfishing's been fairly good. Bass fishing's fairly good in the morning hours on spooks in the early morning hours, a little topwater action. And other than that, they're going to Texas-style plastic worms, fishing some of the brush piles, picking up a few bass. And a few crappie, but they've been trolling up a few crappie on crankbaits, but no big run. All right, let's go out to Lake the Ozarks once again. Let's kind of finish up on this because we fished the other day. I had that wonderful time with Jordan Lear and my buddy Brandon. We had a lot of fun. Gosh, that was fun fishing out there. I want to do that again. And drifting, and also we were anchored, but boy, they've been catching a lot of blue cats. And I tell you what, that Jordan, he catches a lot of fish. I want to tell you, he has caught on rod and reel 20 pounders, 30 pounders, 40 pounders. And I think his biggest is over 50 pounds on rod and reel. That's a heck of a fish. He's one heck of a catfisherman. Great guy, great guy. Now, getting back to the Lake of the Ozarks, the water temperature out there was 72 degrees this morning, and they have been picking up some bass on topwater fishing in the morning hours. Also, they've been throwing some crankbaits, and they've been using Texas-style plastic worms, some plastic worms out there catching fish. And so, might try Lake of the Ozarks this weekend. It's really been good fishing out there for catfish and crappie. The crappie have been being caught mainly by trolling small crankbaits off the points and secondary points. Some of the boys are catching a few fish, crappie then going back around and getting on the area where they caught those fish and going with a jig and minnow and catching some fish over the brush piles. So check this out at Lake of the Ozarks. Looks real good for the upcoming weekend. I had a report from Norfolk. That lake is about, what did they say, around 18, 19 feet high, somewhere in that range. It was 85 degrees out there and degrees this morning. and they've been picking up some good bass fishing in the morning. Topwater fishing's been good. Plastic worms been good. They've been doing a little bit of crankbait fishing. Few crappie have been caught off the man-made brush piles out there. And if you want to do some deep water striper fishing, that's been pretty fair. They've been using big spoons, getting out there at Stockton and 50, 55, 60, 65, 70 feet of water, occasionally picking up a big old striper. Man, that's a lot of fun. Okay, let's go out to Truman Lake. Yeah, we know the lake is high, but it's still like 27, 20 feet above normal pool. That's a lot of water out there. But I'm telling you, some crappie are starting to show up out at Truman. I've had pretty good reports up the Palmy Arm. So you may want to go up the Palmy Arm and experiment a little bit on your depth. If you find a big old willow tree or a big old cedar tree, and maybe in 25, 30 feet of water, get over there and put a jig and minnow down and just from the bottom, just kind of creep it up. And you might find a magic depth where you can find several nice crappie. So crappie fishing is starting to pick up a little bit more and more out at Truman. Water temperature, by the way, out there this morning was 82 degrees. And the crappie are up the Palmy Arm and other areas of the lake. The water's starting to clear up somewhat. And so I think you can catch some crappie out at Truman Lake this weekend. I really do. Jig and minnow seems to be as good as anything. And we've had some reports of cats on cut shads starting to move a little bit. And the bass fishing. Some boys went out bass fishing the other day on plastic worms. And like a 7-inch plastic worm with a slip sinker, it seems like. A dark colored one works a little bit better. Somebody said they caught a good one on a strawberry, kind of a red plastic worm. And don't be afraid to use those big old 10-inchers out there as well, those big old 10-inch plastic worms. I think you can catch some fish. And might try a top water bait out there early in the morning. So Truman Lake, starting to move a little bit. Get out there and try to catch some fish. Let's go to Lake the Ozarks. Well, as we said, we opened the program today out to Lake the Ozark with my old buddy Jordan Lear and Brandon. Gosh, Jordan, we had such a great time out there with you. I hope we can do that again real soon. Boy, fun catfishing. You know, you anchored your boat. We used that cut shad and cut perch, and gosh, it was just a lot of fun. And of course, as we mentioned on the program, they've been doing some drift fishing out there. A lot of crappie are being caught at Lake the Ozarks, that upper end. A lot of shorts. But I did notice some people were catching some keepers, kind of wading through those. So it's going to be busy. We were out there earlier in the week, I think on Tuesday, and there was a lot of boats out. It must have been 40 boats or so out there in that particular area the day we were out. So this weekend may really be crowded, so watch out. But if you want to get away from that area, go up the Lake the Ozarks and start working the points and secondary points. I know in the early morning hours, the bass fishing has been pretty good at the lake. They've been using your whopper plopper type baits, also some spooks and also some pop-Rs, picking up some fish. And then they've been going to the points and secondary points, throwing plastic worms off some of those brush piles and jigs, of course. And they've been picking up some fish on swim baits and at time crankbaits out to Lake the Ozarks. And for crappie, you want to move away from that dam area and go up there and hit the points and secondary points. Some of the boys have been trolling small crankbaits, picking up some fish from crappie. Tell you a good tip is troll till you hit a crappie, and then you might drop your electric motor and go back to that area and drop a jig and minnow, especially if you can find a brush pile. And I think you can catch some fish doing this. And we had some reports of some crappie being caught around some of the docks as well. So, hey, Lake the Ozarks looks good. They've been catching some catfish there, great catfishing, good crappie fishing, good bass fishing. Looks like a good place to be this upcoming weekend. One final report out at Norfolk Lake. That water temperature is 85 out there this morning. And they've been picking up some crappie out there, but you know, that lake's still high. But get out there on those man-made brush piles and experiment on your depth. They've been picking up a few crappie on jig and minnows. And they've been picking up a few bass out there on top water in the early morning, late evening hours. And also pitching some brush piles with plastic worms and jigs. They've been picking up some fish on bass jigs as well. And they've been picking up some big, nice stripers on occasion out kind of in the mid-lake area, I understand. Deep water, you want to go 55, 60, 65, 70 feet of water. Look with your electronics and put a big spoon down there and see if you can catch one of the big old striped bass. Well, don't go anywhere. We got some great photos coming your way. Brandon and I got some dandies for you, some good kid stuff, a lot of fun. Want to thank you very much for being with us today. Be sure to like and share. We appreciate that. And also subscribe. Put that up there, Brandon. Push that button. Boom. You subscribe. You'll never miss out on the crazy fishing fun we have here on Fishing Chums. And if you have any photos, information you'd like to send us, go to our email. Email us at at fishingchums@gmail.com. Hey, have yourself a good 4th of July weekend. God bless America and God bless you. Roll those photos, Brandon.